that wish their wife.
He's not sad.
It's always, oh, the way she looks at Brian. And I'm like, you look so sad and tired right now. It's called concern.
So I know. And I'm here with my buddy Nikita for Crescendo this weekend. We just went to the grocery store. He bought all this stuff. We're at the checkout line and he goes, "You know I don't cook, right?"
Okay.
So after this, I guess I have to cook dinner.
Oh.
You're so domestic. I love that for you.
He's going to get a burrito right now.
So you're not even over.
No, just as a little snack for him.
Yeah.
Oh, a little snack. I mean, he's got to fuel up.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, here we go. Thanks, Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
Perfect way to end a long day with friends. Even a grouchy, tired Brian.
I'm trying not to be grouchy, but I am tired.
I know.
That's okay.
There's enough grouchy people out there today.
There is. There definitely is. Bella, I don't know if you noticed her, but Brian produced and hosted his first show on B.Friendly Fitness. When was that?
How'd it go?
Yesterday? Tuesday?
It's awesome.
Yeah. He figured out how to do the back end stuff. So, and then he had me on. He had me on as a guest.
Wow. Okay, hear me out. I have an idea.
All right.
I think, okay, anybody that you have on your show, you know how you have the friend of the week?
Yeah.
I think when you bring someone on the show, it's a best friend. And then you could do like, oh yeah, it's our best friend on the show. It's funny. Makes people feel good. Because who doesn't want to be a best friend?
Yeah, but then you end up having like, I don't know, then you start losing value of that.
Yeah, but if you're the friend of the week, like, what makes you a better friend of the week than me?
Because, well, have you read the Friends of the Week? They usually do something amazing.
They're good stories. Yes. I would say if it's a comparison game, yeah, we always lose. But who doesn't want to be a best friend?
Yeah.
It's so cute.
And one of the podcasts, please get Halpin on after all this work he has been putting in tracking quarterfinals.
Someone buy him a coffee, to be honest.
Oh,
it sounds like people have been, and he's like, hey.
Yeah.
Help the athletes, don't help me. I don't know.
Yeah. So here we are. Quarterfinals. Me and Brian did a show, I think was it last Sunday, and then we did kind of one on, I don't even know what today's Thursday. Was it Tuesday? I don't know. But anyways, kind of just going over
great intro.
I know. I'm on it. It's been a long day for me too. I've been working on my Jeep. But anyways, the quarterfinals, individual quarterfinals. Today's been a rough one for a lot of people. In every part, whether you're a fan of the sport, a media, especially an athlete, a judge, CrossFit.
Yeah,
CrossFit. I don't know. Maybe CrossFit thinks they're okay. But either way, if you haven't heard, you've been living under a rock, and I know some of the people in the comments haven't because they keep on referring to Mike Halpin. Penalties have been assessed for, at least that we know of, is a workout number one. And due to those penalties, some names that you typically would expect to be near the top of the leaderboard in the region or worldwide are not there. Some of them are just further down a leaderboard. Doesn't mean they're not competing at semifinals as of yet, but there are some that were taken out altogether and may not be competing at semifinals at all. Again, I think Halpin is updating his spreadsheet. I think it is he made it available.
He's coaching right now at CrossFit Fairfield, but when he gets home, he's going to jump on.
Okay, there we go. Yep, look at that. The people asked and we provideth.
I love it.
So, but anyways, so we'll save that. We'll save his spreadsheet and some of that stuff for Halpin, so that way we don't repeat ourselves. But let's talk about
Patrick's only plan for the show, and I just derailed it.
You did.
Can we wait before we do anything? I just want to say thank you to the people that have had a little bit of grace and that are doing all of the judging, because it's not easy. It's not fun. I know they're getting a lot of heat right now, and that I know that they're stressed out, and I feel for them. So thank you for all of those judges that actually traveled, judged. They're in the back end and they're doing that now. Thank you for what you're doing. I'm sorry all of the shenanigans are happening, and I'm sure we'll come to the end of it, but it's not your fault.
No, it's definitely not their fault. And I don't think that anyone is necessarily accusing them. I mean, I actually thought that outside of everything else, that the context of the video that Andrew put up this morning was pretty good. And he was just putting these bubbles that kind of said anonymous games review judge. But I think that I'm glad that Bella brought that up right off the bat, because I think it's really important to contextualize a couple things. First of all, ironically, Fitz's question there, in both the cases of the team and individual quarterfinals throughout this season, the communication has been that they will allow themselves 1 week for reviews. And so that would mean that on Monday, at some point, those reviews should be complete. And that's what athletes should be expecting. It's always good to remind yourself that when it comes to the CrossFit Games, and I think that Jacob Hepner did this very well today on his Instagram from wherever he was having a little virgin daiquiri or something. He said, these are CrossFit's games. These are CrossFit's rules. And we've reiterated over the years that in the rule book and multiple iterations, it says at CrossFit's sole discretion with regards to whatever the previous, bullet point or paragraph was. And so when you sign up to play these things, and once again, this is a message that Andrew's been putting out for years. You're paying with your dollar, and when you choose to pay, you choose to play, and you're playing by their rules. In the case of the judges that are doing this thing and the review team, there is an elaborate group of people that's put together, a chain of command and a hierarchy through which these things go through, and they have a week to do this. One of the biggest things that I think is important to understand is that any person along that chain is receiving a directive and they're following an order. I don't remember who I was listening to today or where I saw it, but someone mentioned this concept of they're not looking at Tia Claire Toomey. They're not looking at Pat Vellner or Sydney Wells or Luis Ascamora or any athlete that you know or I know by name. They're looking at a warm body, and they have a checklist of things that they're supposed to be looking for. In the case of quarterfinals in years past, and I would guess that in this year as well, the workouts or the team is communicating something about the workouts. So they might say, hey, for workout 1, we want a high level of scrutiny. And there might be a list of directive of what that means. For workout 2, we want a baseline level of review. And that will mean a different thing. And the person who's sitting there receiving videos will go through the checklist accordingly for each of the 4 workouts. And they might be very brief, it might be nothing, and it might be thorough. And year by year, the way that they go about doing that changes. And so just at the big picture level, I felt it was good, Bella, that you brought that up right off the bat.
They're just really nice people, and they make everything so much easier and more fun and more professional, to be honest. So it's tough when something like this happens, but it'll make the sport better moving forward. So we'll figure it out.
Patrick and I had Ed and Jules on, who are the president and vice president, I believe, of the AFJ about 4 months ago. And we know them. I actually reached out to Ed this morning. I've been in communication with him throughout the day, hoping to have a chance to talk to him, but it's been a very busy day for them. They are going to be sending out a statement soon. Maybe it's out already. I'm not sure, but he said pretty soon. And yeah, these, the people that are doing this, just like Hiller did with Leahy, like they are traveling there with the intention of providing a service to the athlete or the training camp under the pretense that they know what they're doing. And, he identified one judge who was up at HWPO, and he found a clip of her judging at the CrossFit Games last year. All of these judges that are wearing AFJ shirts, we know who they are. We see them at competitions regularly. They have, a lot of experience. It's still a variety of experience. Some of them are oftentimes in head judging roles. Others of them prefer to be on the floor. Sometimes it's a combination of both. But either way, they're not going there with the intention of having this happen. And I think that, whatever your thoughts are about what's going on, this is the thing that's probably the most important to recognize, is that it's few and far between that there's an athlete, a coach, a training camp, a judge, or a member of the CrossFit review team that is doing anything here without good intention. All of these people are giving their time, many of them years and years, some of them decades plus, to this sport, this community, and this passion. So, whether you like what's going on or not, and I can totally understand if you don't, there are reasons not to like it. I think that you still need to keep that in mind.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. For me personally, obviously, I know a lot of the judges. I actually even signed up for the AFJ just in case if they ever needed someone, I can, brush off the old stopwatch and
J1.
yeah, exactly. Hey, I still qualify. But yeah, I just they reached out to us soon after we did that interview with them, and a couple of them reached out, and their intention was to get representation at all the major camps because that what better way to do that. So I was putting them in touch with some of the camps, and you know you would think. And I just had that post up for Mayhem. Actually, Mayhem put a post up thanking those judges for taking the time to come out and do that. And I know HWPO did the same thing. And I'm not sure if Training Think Tank did or not, but I'm sure they will. They did, yeah. But so people are kind of, I just feel really bad because they're put in a bad position. And like you said, Hiller did a great job with kind of discussing like, hey, these are games quality judges, but there is a difference between online judging and live judging. And I'm going to bring this up too. This tab up. This is something Justin Cotler put up. If all these penalties and technical issues don't prove we need to move to a season of in-person competitions and do away with online silliness, then I don't know what does. We are losing some of the best athletes in the sport, and frankly, it's absurd. The system needs to be change, or this sport is doomed. Those who know Justin, the guy wears his heart on his sleeve, and he says what's on his mind. And this is what he put out, and I'm pretty sure this is how he still feels. Brian or Bella, your reaction to something like that from someone that we know and respect.
I mean, I think that's something we keep talking about is we need more of an in-person season. We need this is how you qualify for the games, not just the open. I think the open is awesome. I think it's fun. I think it's great for the community. But if that is the only way for the top athletes to make it to the games and something like this happens again, then we're doing the sport a disservice. So I agree there.
I think that there's certainly validity to what he's saying, but I also think that, as we've already reminded you guys, the window for review is still open. No seasons have been lost yet. No athletes have been eliminated from competition other than me because I didn't make it to quarterfinals.
And me.
Did you even participate?
I eliminated myself. But anyways, go ahead. Carry on.
And there is a process. After the penalties are administered, then there's an opportunity for appeals. One thing that I've kind of always thought to myself, and I've expressed to a few people, is that the rolling penalties create multiple rounds of chaos. So while last night at some point, I don't know exactly what time, a few penalties started coming out. And if you have been following along with Halpin, he's releasing these updated penalties and then updated statistics. It's at 80 athletes, 160 athletes, 240 athletes, whatever. And as that's going, you're just, like I said, creating a reaction over and over and over again from different groups of people. The counter to that is that all of those people then have the opportunity to appeal. And so by kind of doling them out intermittently as you're doing it, then you're letting the process continually evolve instead of just dumping 500 penalties on everyone on Friday night and then potentially receiving 500 appeals the same day. Because now you're setting yourself up. So it's I'm not sure that there's a great answer on either side of that with this format. I think that the whole controversy, everything that's happened happening right now is that, to me, the bigger problems have been underlying for a long time. And this day to me was very predictable. If you have been following the stuff that we've been doing, I've been more or less alluding to the possibility of this publicly through our Depth of Field series over the past month. And privately, I've been asking these questions of people who could potentially do something of it for months to years with the hope of some element of change occurring. The biggest narrative I would say that I've had when it comes to the quarterfinals since their introduction, since the first year, is that the CrossFit Games team, when it is deciding what to do with quarterfinals, needs to make decisions that puts their team, however big or small it is, in a position for success. And I have seen year after year either the same mistakes or different mistakes being made that really puts them in a tough position to administer this part of the season fairly. The sentiment of, we can take Pat Vellner, for example. Last night, when I looked at it, he was in 1,170th place worldwide. And many people have expressed the same concept today, but it's a concept that's been expressed over and over and over again for years to the same people that are in the positions to potentially do something about it. We know there's no chance that there's 1,169 men in the world that did that workout with a higher level of fitness and quality and scrutiny by the review team than Pat Vellman.
Mm-hmm.
But we do not know, and we also know that they cannot scrutinize 1,169 videos with that level of thoroughness in the time period that they've allowed for themselves.
Yeah.
We don't know how many of those people will be reviewed. And that's where I think that the most frustrations come in, because whatever the review process is, at the end of this thing, there's going to be an athlete that makes a semifinal by a point and misses it by a point somewhere, and probably in multiple places. And when that happens, we know that there's the potential that there's someone out there that's done the workout that middled someone on one of these things and wasn't reviewed. Maybe doesn't even have a video. Maybe didn't even do the workout.
Well said. But, dude,
Hey, what's up?
you could have waited till you got in a safe spot.
Oh my gosh! I'm on my way home from the gym.
It's not that big of
Mike,
an
how long is
emergency.
it? Mike, how long is the drive?
Well, I gotta go Chipotle, and then I got 20 minutes.
We will still
happy
be
to
here in
wait.
20 minutes if you prefer.
Listen-
It's your call.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We only want you for about.
I
We only
won't,
want
I
you
won't
for
be
about
looking at
20
the camera
minutes.
too much, but I can talk.
Yeah. Well, it's
Either
your
way.
call. I mean, Nikita's
Either way,
coming
I'm
back with the burrito. He's going to Chipotle. Now I'm hungry.
What's going on?
What's
Mike,
going
can
on?
you? Some people on here, a few of the faithful listeners actually,
Well, I
have been
sort of know what's
saying
going
that
on.
with everything that's been happening today, obviously people have taken notice of the work that you've been doing. This is work that you and I know that you've been doing for years. It's nice that it's kind of becoming a little bit more publicly recognized now. But the question they have maybe is, what's the process that you're going through, and what are you maybe hoping to? How can they interact with the data, first of all?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it is all available on my Instagram. I've been pulling it every 4 hours. I've gotten a few questions about how I pull it. I don't go into too much detail because I never want CrossFit to close that door. But they've thankfully left that open for me and others. So yes, what I'm looking at is the top 300 of every region, and then I'm comparing their original score that would have been, oh good, I'm in a red light. Their original score that would have been on Monday night, and even some from Saturday night, and then comparing that to what their score is as of whenever I pull it. So I pulled it at noon today, and then right before I left for the gym, I pulled it around. And then with that, oh, there you go. Perfect. With that, comparing who's new to the list. So in the last few, it's mostly been North America West athletes. So I don't know if they're looking at this in that sort of regionality or anything, but looking at that and then comparing what their score is before, what their score is now, and really just maybe not jumping to conclusions, but leaving.
Lost you there for a second, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Go back to the last sentence you were saying.
Oh, okay. In most of those cases, I'm not hearing too much from athletes. I've talked to a couple coaches. I'm not trying to draw conclusions around judging or standards or anything. I'm really just trying to provide data where I think there's a lack thereof at the moment. I mean, similar with a lot of things with quarterfinals, and I know all three of you know this well. Chad, you as well in the background, there's not much to do around quarterfinals. Everybody's videos are private. There's not much going on. Really, all you hear about is stuff like this. Like, suddenly some athletes no longer in the top 40. And so I'm trying to get some context where I can based on what I see going up and down the leaderboard.
PC, can you pull up the last comment by ironically fit? Isn't a video submission a requirement if you want a chance to get to semi? Seems like common sense to me. Yes, and I believe all those athletes will need to submit all their videos. What I was referring to earlier is the potential for an athlete who is well outside of the realm of qualification, but did well enough on a workout to place ahead of an athlete who received the penalty and therefore takes a point away from them. And that point could potentially be valuable for some athlete on the cut line. And it will at some point be valuable for some athlete on the cut line.
Yeah, that's
Mike,
right. And that even speaks to one of the things I'm seeing is there's a difference in some of the data. So a lot of the focus has been workout 1 and the actual penalties, but also within here is workout 4 and athletes that didn't submit the right score originally, and they have a change of score there. That's in the positive, obviously. And then there is also even athletes where they just got a 0 score or are currently sitting with a 0 score. My understanding of most of those, like a Jake Berman or a Caitlin Van Ziel, is they were requested a video, or there was an issue with their video when CrossFit tried to go look at it, and then they're dealing with whatever the outcome of that is.
Yeah, we addressed that on earlier in the week with Sahara Kaya as an example.
Yeah.
She saw something that was alarming to her. She went through the general protocols, waited for CrossFit to do their thing, and then things were resolved. And she seemed to have a generally good attitude about it.
And it seems like one of the athletes I highlighted here, which Mike, you kind of brought up, you didn't bring her up, but she's one of those athletes that had a 0, was Laura Kuna. She made a post. Her current score, I think in workout, I think it's 1 is a 0. And it's because her YouTube video was pulled off because of music that was in the background. So due to copyright. So she has a 0. She's going through the appeal process. She posted a video. I think Spin put up her actual post and used the AI interpreter to interpret it. And basically, she says she's letting the review process take its course, the appeal process, and she's not the only athlete that's dealing with that. Where you're trying to upload your YouTube video to CrossFit to the review, and they're in YouTube because of copyright laws will not allow it because athletes work out with music. So, but that's what we're looking at when it comes to an athlete like her.
Mike, what is the when you do all this stuff, like what are you hoping to achieve with it? Who are you hoping that this is helpful for?
Yeah, I'm hoping it gives some piece of information to athletes that feel like they just got an email. Obviously, it can be a devastating email to get of thinking you did all the right thing and then being told otherwise, is that they're not alone in this. What I don't want to get out of it, and this is something I was talking with a few folks at the gym about, is that this be sort of, in some circles, celebrated. Because to me, like, I feel very bad for these athletes. The fact that, like, throughout the day, I'm saying new names of athletes that are, like, no longer in a qualifying position because of whatever the standard might be. And again, I'm not speaking too closely to that. And so what I'm mostly trying to get out of this is sharing data that does exist, whether it's deep into the leaderboard or not, and allowing athletes to understand that they're not alone in this, and that and then they can figure out what they need to do from there. I don't imagine, because I've been in some appeal situations before, helping other coaches, I don't imagine that just strength by numbers really does anything there, but it at least gives them some likelihood of being able to see that they're not alone and see that CrossFit does need to make something of this, obviously.
If you guys got any other questions for Mike, throw them in the chat now.
Yeah.
Oh, Justin Cotler, we already talked about you, so you should go rewind a few minutes.
Or I can send you the link and you can join us, Justin. So let us know.
There we go.
Regarding Justin, I'm late to the discussion, but this is absolutely brutal. And if we don't take a hard look at the structure of the season and a qualifying process, the sport is in serious trouble. Yeah, I mean, that's something we talked about, and definitely, I don't know how we solve that. But Mike, while we still have you on, was there anything while you're crunching these numbers, any athlete that kind of stood out to you that, like, hey, this is, I mean, obviously there's the Paige Powers and Sydney Wells out there, but was there any other athletes that, you were just kind of surprised by or taken aback from?
Definitely those two. I'm sure you might have touched on this. I know Hiller did in a video. Obviously, there's athletes that had seemingly professional. Obviously, there's a lot of words that get thrown around that, but like official judges and things like that, I was sort of surprised by those. I know that went really well for some camps last year. So seeing some of those names definitely surprised me with what I knew they had going on this weekend. But honestly, just the sheer volume and just every time I pull the data, it's an athlete that I know. It's an athlete that I've talked to, that I've cheered on at the games or at semifinals and things like that. Like, I did a very similar study last year, and it did not show to this extent. And it did not show to, like, those athletes. It was really just sort of like, oh, okay, well, Bill Leahy should know better by now, and that sort of thing. It was really his sort of focus last year. And this year, as Justin said, it's like devastating to the sport to say this amount of athletes has these issues going on, and like a Pat Vellner really stuck out to me. Like he puts all of his videos online. He usually waits obviously until it's official for good reason, but like he's a great mover. To say that he didn't move correctly on a segment of his reps is like hard to imagine until maybe we start seeing some of these videos.
Yeah. So anyway, Mike Halpin, thank you for taking the time, man. Like I told you, you were in demand, you were in request.
I'm actually following now, so perfect.
And I think that's helpful for people to hear from you about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and the intent is that hopefully that you can be a resource that's available for people. So if you haven't been following his stuff, it's all year round. That the density depends on the time of the season, but he's putting out good content like this all the time.
Yeah. So follow him on Known and Knowable. I'm pretty sure, like I said, his work's not done, and he's doing great stuff. I believe you did an article with Joe on the Morning Chalk Up, I believe, right?
Yeah. I was writing a little bit for them during the Open, so we got that out this morning, and then a couple other folks have hit me up for information. If there's any questions on anything I'm doing, definitely happy to chat. If there's coaches or camps that need any information on their athletes, definitely happy to pull that for anybody as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon, I'll let you go. Yep. Have a good one.
Mike Halpin, Known and Knowable, always putting out good stuff. And Wad Zombie agrees with Bella's opinion, and that's why we got rid of Mike so we could get more of Bella.
Yep, exactly. Justin, Cotler, he was saying, and I almost feel like everyone says we need to go back. And well, actually, we haven't heard it much lately this year, but everyone's like, oh, we need to go back to regionals. We need to go back to regionals. Regionals wasn't perfect by all means, but it didn't have that stage, quarterfinal stage, where we were always
Sarah Cooper managing the show. First Halpin, now Cotler.
Yeah. And guess what, Sarah? You get it. What's up, Justin?
What's up,
Justin?
How you guys doing?
Justin, I got a rule for people like you before you speak on the podcast.
No cursing.
3 deep, just 3 deep breaths before we get going. I know you missed the first part of the show there a little bit. I did go over some more big picture stuff, basically just that this is not the first time. A day like this is not unexpected. Many people were predicting something like this happening yet again. It's been a repetitive pattern, not just during the quarterfinals era. We've seen similar problems for a long period of time. There was a sanctional season that was existing for 2 years that you're somewhat referring to, and I have seen other people today throwing around this idea that maybe we need a new season structure. It's been a crazy day on a lot of fronts, but you made some comments in there, so we're just going to open it up to whatever you want to share, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I just think anybody who thinks that this is good for the sport is out of their minds. We're losing some of the best and brightest young stars in the sport. I mean, you look up and see somebody like Paige Powers out, you see Nick Matthew out, you see, Brooke was out for a little while. It's just somebody new almost every single hour. And then you look at some of the athletes that are out from some of the, technical issues. Obviously we're dealing with one with Caitlin Manziel, who'd be, second in Oceania right now. You got Laurie Cunha, who's one of the best athletes in South America. You've got Freya Moosberger, who crushed the quarterfinals. And I mean, it doesn't look like they're getting back in, to be honest with you, from what I'm hearing, So I just think if anybody looks at this and thinks this is good, or, they're saying to themselves, oh, well, it's up to the athletes to hold the standard. Listen, in a lot of these cases, these were professional judges that were judging these athletes from the Judges Federation that came to these big camps, and they still got these penalties. The movement itself should have never been in quarterfinals. It should have been box step overs, and we wouldn't have had to worry about this specific movement. But regardless, it's something every single year. There's a movement. A couple of years ago it was pistols, and this time it's box step ups. The problem is that the judging is so subjective. The volume of videos that people have to watch, after a while, it's like, you watch. I've done it before. I've had to review videos, when we program for a competition, and you watch. I'm nowhere near the volume that these people are having to watch. But you got to watch 30, 50, 100 videos in a couple of hours. By the end of that time, you're literally like, oh my God, you can't see.
And just to put it into context, this is a real thing. These people are waking up at 5 and 6 in the morning and going to sleep at 1 and 2 in the morning. And
100%.
And they did this for the team quarterfinals. They're doing it right now, not just for individuals, but also for all 16 or however many age groups it is. And 2 weeks from now, they're going to do it again for the age group semifinals. It's a crazy undertaking. And as I said earlier, Justin, before you came on, everybody who's participating in this, from the review team to those judges you talked about, coaches, athletes, whatever, are passionate about this sport, this community, and this thing. They're not trying to do anything that's unjudicious. What I want to ask you and Bella both actually is, because something that has been a little bit frustrating to me, and I think I have seen some people saying that these penalties are a good thing. I'm not saying that the athlete shouldn't be held to a standard, but something that, I think most people here are probably aware of is, I think there could have been just as many or more penalties awarded for lack of hip extension in the deadlift during the open, and there was nothing. Why are they doing it now?
Who knows? Who knows why they're doing it now? Maybe they're thinking there are so many people that could have the spots and we have fewer spots, but now that's what they have to do. I mean, something that I hear all the time in these kind of online things is, until the judge says it's a no rep, you're going to skirt the line. But when you have professional judges, there is no skirting the line. This is the standard. This is what you have to follow. So I don't understand, how an athlete specifically like Paige could be in this situation at all. Someone who's in, 80th to 100th place maybe, but it's these athletes that are at these pro camps that they don't have the luxury of skirting the line, because I'm not their judge, Yeah,
I unfortunately, I think the Open, we've gotten to the point now, and people don't necessarily want to hear this, but the Open's a throwaway. The Open just doesn't. It doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't matter. Your movement standards should always matter. But you're getting validated by your friend at an affiliate, and it's no big deal. No one's watching your video unless you win in the world or you post it on your YouTube page. It's not a big deal. But the issue that I have here is that judging is so subjective, and what looks very quickly like a rep or a no rep to you or me might look different to another person, or the way that the video, the angle of the video, etc. Right? And so my point is, moving forward, and I've been an advocate of this forever, because I really want to see this sport professionalized. And the problem is when you have the best athletes in the sport that are going out on technicalities, or that are getting their seasons ending at the quarterfinal level on a movement like a box step up, you're devaluing the professionalism of the sport. It just isn't it. You're talking about people that are top 10 in the world, top 15 in the world, and I mean, we almost lost Pat Vellner, for God's sake, you're talking about monsters of the sport, and I guess, people could say, oh, well, at least they're not favoring specific athletes, but you know what? I don't, that's really my biggest concern and my fear, is that, what we're doing ultimately is we're turning this whole thing into, it's like an online fiasco, and what I want it to be is I want it to be a spectator sport, an in-person sport. People want to come see the best athletes compete, and we're losing a lot of those people going into semifinals, and I don't know, man. I just, it's really unfortunate because I know what it takes because I see it every single day. And I understand that not only are you talking about the season being over, but what it means as far as sponsorships, what it means as far as, legacy, what it means as far, there's so many things behind this that's so, it's so unfortunate for these athletes. And people, a lot of times, unfortunately, I think you see a lot of people that are almost rooting for them to, it's like, oh yeah, they got burned, blah, 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 blah. Listen, for the majority of these athletes are not trying to cheat, man. They're trying to get to the next level. They want to compete. They're not trying to cheat. Maybe you
No,
get
and I've had,
there.
I've had
That's
a chance.
crazy.
I've had a chance to watch some of the videos, like 17-minute videos for a 15-minute workout that has 2-3 minutes of the process that you see in the beginning for some of these athletes that we've named tonight. And yeah, they're going to all measures to try to eliminate these things from happening. I see Seth Page here in the comments. Seth did do an Instagram live today that I didn't get a chance to watch because I was driving, where he was kind of saying that he thinks these penalties are a good thing. And he's got a comment here that says, we need to hold to the standard. And I think that everyone would agree with that. Yes, we need to hold the standard. And but it's just like, why are you choosing to drop the X now? And to me, I see everyone diving into the minutia of the things that are happening today, but I really think that what we should be doing is zooming out and asking bigger questions, because in the process of all of these little things happening, and I think it was Spin who said that the preseason is the open. We've now allowed 25% of the athletes to get to this stage. It's an unmanageable volume of people participating. And for what and for what the stated goal of quarterfinals is, which some have stated in the chat, which is to qualify a select group of athletes to a premier competition. Because on paper, the North American and European semifinals are 3 of the 7, at worst, 7 most competitive competitions that we will have a chance to watch all year. Those spots, every one of those 40 spots is at a premium. There are hundreds of athletes in each of those regions that you could cycle into that first heat and they would all perform well. And we need to have a qualifying stage of the season that makes sense. Not that we open it up to more people, have fewer number of spots, have fewer workouts, have obscure movements, and have a limited amount of time to review these things and a limited amount of manpower to do it. And it's the decision-making process that happened months to years ago with regards to the quarterfinal stage of season that is concerning to me, much more so than what a review judge is doing in their 10th hour of reviewing a video in a blurry vision on a Saturday night.
But I think what you're going to see now, and not that I think this is a good thing, but I do think that what's happening and the fact that we're in a situation now where I think a lot of athletes are going to say, okay, like we need to figure this out. We need to figure out a way, to fix this. To me, my hope is that we start to, we go down the road of creating a season of competitions. I've been talking about it for a while everywhere that I can. A season similar to the PGA Tour, similar to the ATP Tour, similar to F1, where you've got qualifying events where athletes can go, they can make money, and those events qualify you to the bigger Grand Slam events. Those events being, the games, Rogue, Wadapalooza, Dubai, etc., whichever ones you want to make, but they're different tiered events. And, I know so many people are, say, yeah, I mean, I say sanctionals, but it needs to be regulated. That was the wild, wild west, right? Like there were some competitions that year that were just ridiculous and people were making $400 for first prize. We need to figure it out. But that the powers that be need to come together, and whether or not CrossFit's involved.
But who are those powers that be? That's the question, because we've seen, like I have said multiple times on this podcast, we've seen repeated patterns of what I would say is poor decision making. When you do something and it doesn't work, and you do the same thing again and it continuously doesn't work, who is in a position to make these changes?
Well, I think for one, I think the PFAA would be a big player in that.
The PFAA the PFAA was just recently talked about by Dave Castro, and actually agree with Dave on this point. And he said what they're claiming, that we don't have athlete safety in mind, is laughable. Dave Castro is clearly a big player in the sport of CrossFit, and he's not impressed with what the PFAA has put on them recently.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair, but I also think that, my concern is that I'm not sure that CrossFit has what are CrossFit's aspirations? What are CrossFit's goals, right? You tell me. I mean, is it to me, it's ultimately, what did Don Fall say? 30 million people doing CrossFit, right? Getting people into affiliates, etc. Like their goal is to garner as many affiliates and as many people doing CrossFit as possible. It's not about the sport. It's not about these athletes. It's not about providing a sport where you can go and make money and there's content creation and stories and a reality show and all the stuff that is shown that needs to be done for sports right now, like sports 21st century sports like UFC, or look at what's happened with F1, the way it's blown up. Yes, I know that but it's nothing compared to what it is now with the Drive to Survive show. These are all things. I mean, we have superhumans doing.
Justin, I mean, I remember being at the 2018 CrossFit Games and having, hearing people have conversations about the potential of the sport kind of branching off from the methodology, because they were not necessarily in alignment, maybe didn't have the same goals. CrossFit Health, CrossFit Games were like the two things that were being kind of pushed at that time. And, is that something that you still think has some merit to be considered? That maybe, I believe that the games drives people to affiliates and the affiliates drive people to the games, and there is a symbiotic relationship there, but I don't know if on the business end, if they need to be married. So maybe you want to weigh in that. Maybe Bella, you have a thought.
I completely agree. I don't think they need to be married at all. In fact, I think that ultimately for the greater success of both, they won't be. And because I still think you can say that, hey, the methodology is the best way for you to be, at the pinnacle of the sport. But I don't think, I think CrossFit has shown that they're really not that interested necessarily in growing the sport. We've seen them cut out the media team, which to me right now in the world that we live in, media and content is the way to get this thing to the next level. And I also think, I just think that the proof is in the pudding, and every single year we seem to see dialing back on the sports side, the money being spent, etc. And that's okay, that's fine. But my thing would be, okay, well then let somebody else run with it. Let's figure out, let's figure out a different way to do this, because I just think right now we're in quicksand. We're standing around, and I don't think that the online side of this, the open is fine. It's great for the community. It's a lot of fun. But when you talk about now, 25% going in, and you've got, video review for all these athletes, which is impossible because, Brian, you know this very well. Now you're talking about people who get 25% penalties, which drops them back to 190 to 200 reps. Well, are they watching all the people's videos now who got 190 to 200 reps? That's thousands of people. There's no way.
We addressed that before you came on.
Right.
We know that's unmanageable. We know they can't do that. And that's what I would go back to, the same narrative I've had for all these years, which is you have to make decisions that are within the realm of what you can actually follow through on. Bella, did you want to add in anything there about maybe the sport eventually branching away from the methodology?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I think the open is for communities, for people like me. I don't have professional athlete aspirations. And I talk about this all the time. I mean, the point of CrossFit was not to create a professional sport. The inspiring people to go be this professional athlete was not what it was started for, but that's what we have now. So let the people that want to have that now have an actual season, have a professional avenue and a career. Let's give them that opportunity. But I don't think you have to say, okay, well, you have to have all of the CrossFit affiliates, that growth, or the games. They're two completely separate things. You know, we should be able to grow affiliates and grow the games. They're not the same. Yeah, they're cousins. We do CrossFit. If you want to be the fittest human you possibly can, you're going to do CrossFit. And that's what these athletes are doing. But also, what these athletes have to do to be at the top of the sport is not what's best for 30 million people. Training 4 to 6 hours a day, all of this that they have to do is not what's best for most people. Trying to become a professional athlete in a sport that has this much of a physical demand, emotional demand, mental demand is not what's best for most people. Most people have a 9 to 5. Keep your 9 to 5. Do CrossFit for the love of the sport. And let's give the people who have an opportunity and who have a gift and a talent an avenue to go find a professional career with it. And that's what I've always said. There's a lot of people in this world that think it's really cool to be a CrossFit Games athlete, and it is very cool, but that's not the goal. And it doesn't necessarily need to be encouraged as the goal. Let's go be healthy. Let's do CrossFit and let's be healthy, and let's support the athletes through their journey.
It's also not realistic for most people.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
you're talking about the 1% of the 1%, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yes.
and ultimately, and Brian, you know this very well. I mean, we're talking about a different, like when I first started in this sport 15 years ago, like your best athletes were all really in tune with the communities, right? They were all members, they were taking
Level.
class, they were, they were
All
coaching
one,
at the
instructor.
boxes, etc. That's not the case anymore. It's completely
No.
separate. They're now full-time athletes. They're generally training off on their own at camps or by themselves in their garages, in their this and their that. They've got sponsorships. They're not concerned about the affiliates. It's not the same anymore. And to continue to treat it that way, I think is silly. And I mean, we have to have some foresight, and I just think that
No,
the
foresight.
now,
Justin, the foresight is there. The foresight is there and has been communicated on multiple levels for multiple years to the people who have the potential to make a change, and they have continuously not made that change.
I agree with that.
Ironically fit of 7:39 p.m. Wondering how this will affect participation next year. This is a great question and a great point because, while Justin has pointed out that they're allocating less money to the game season, they've also opened it up to 25%. And thanks to Mike Halpin, I don't think he's posted on his Instagram permanently, but he was putting stories up about the total number of registrations. It's not the percentage of registrations, just the total number of registrations for quarterfinals this year compared to last year. And it's up a lot, of course, because it's open to 150% more people. And this goes back to another thing we said at the start of the podcast. By signing up for the Open, by signing up for the quarterfinals this year, you were basically saying that you're okay with the way they ran it last year. And if you signed up last year, you're saying you're okay with the way they did it the year before. And as long as everyone keeps continuing to sign up for that, then what makes any of you think that anything's going to change?
I'll say one thing, and I got to take my son to his Karate Kid class. That's what he calls it, Karate Kid class.
That's great. I was trying to kick you out of here anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're too handsome.
I will say this. I think the one thing that's a little bit different this year is that you're seeing some of the major players from the major camps that are taking hits. You're seeing some of the best athletes from each of the big camps taking hits. And so I think you might see a little bit more discussion about this whole thing when they've got their top athletes who are getting kicked out of the season at the quarterfinal stage. That's a little bit different than we've seen in the past. There's been some athletes in the past, that have taken a hit, but not like this, not when you see Proven and Mayhem and Hard Work Pays Off, et cetera. They're the camps that hired the judges to come in, et cetera. They thought they were doing the right things and it still wasn't the right thing. I think now I've gotten a lot of messages from a lot of people I've never gotten messages from in the last 48 hours that could make a lot of noise about this thing. And I'm very curious to see what happens, because I'm not saying I wanted this to happen, but perhaps this is the catalyst that will create some of the change that we've been talking about for a while.
Very well said. And before you say anything less well said, enjoy karate.
Karate.
Bye. Love y'all.
See ya, Justin.
Oh.
Again, great guest. Thanks, Justin, for joining and jumping on. And I think the 3 breaths really did him good at the start of that.
Exactly. You're good at that. Hey, can I comment on this? I think I have some insight on this, and I think Spin, thanks for being in the comments and giving some perspective on that. But he mentioned, have you talked about how only one male athlete from NA East has received a penalty? So I was a video review judge for 2 years. And I don't think they've changed much, but what they usually do is like they have a lead and then they assign a certain team to a certain region. So you're not having one person judging all these videos in total. What you're doing is you're having maybe 2 or 3 judge a region, and maybe even like a split it up. Like, judge 1 will do 1 through 50, and then judge 2 will do 51 through 100. Sorry, I'm boring you, Brian. But
we already established the fact that I'm tired tonight.
Exactly.
This is great stuff that you're sharing.
But that kind of explains why when you saw a lot of consistencies in judging in certain regions. What you basically have, and we keep on bringing it up, it's subjective. And it's even more subjective when you're online, because what you're looking at a video that could be at God knows what, shot in whatever format and whatever angle. So that judge is even more subjective.
And it's worth pointing out that there's less floor plans and also less suggested camera angles than we've had in the past, which leaves more room for unclear angles.
Yeah. And I will say the reason why I even stopped judging is because of the video judging, because that was kind of an expectations for some of these volunteer judges. And we're talking people that are currently on the AFJ that who are probably on the video team as well. I mean, there's probably some that performed that we're judging this weekend that are also reviewing video as well. But that's why you're seeing someone maybe one penalty, because it's all subjective to that judge. There's probably one judge, and I'm guilty of this. There was one thing I was always looking for when I was reviewing judges. Like, there was always one thing I was looking for, and if I constantly saw that, then the next person I'm looking for that and looking for that. So that's why you're kind of seeing the same stuff, like the standard of standing up on the box. There's one judge who that's the standard he's looking for, and then he just went down that list, and unfortunately a lot of those athletes were they got the judge that they probably didn't want subjectively. But like I said, I don't think they've changed much, but that's probably the answer Spin's question, which he probably knows the answer to this. That's why you're seeing less penalties in certain regions, because you have different
he added another comment there that he understands it the same way. So
yeah,
I think that likely is still the case.
Yeah. So I wouldn't see why they changed it, because again, a lot of these video review judges are volunteers as well. So
I mean, look, the window's still open, and we could see a number of penalties coming on the East today, tomorrow, whatever. Or East is just the best region, baby.
maybe.
We'll find out.
Hello, East Coast, West Coast action here. Yeah,
we'll find out. I mean, I'll be at East, so we'll find out.
Yeah.
Gosh.
You are going to be at East.
Yeah. I think
you won't be at West.
No, she'll be in her dreamland.
Second home. Home.
I'll be at home.
Yeah, you'll be at home. Yeah, this wasn't really my intention.
No, I was just gonna say, just like every other show today that intended on doing something, they got completely derailed by the topic at hand here. I think that more than anything, if you just look at kind of what's happened today. Oh no, Bella, you've really ruined Wad Zombie's evening.
What did he do? No, baby, I have Torian Pro. I'm sorry. Y'all know if Torian Pro's happening,
if Wad Zombie,
Wad Zombie, he's looking.
If Wad Zombie's Instagram goes dark, do we know anyone in Southern California that can go and check on him, please?
Or he's looking at flights to freaking Australia right now.
Yeah, he's looking at flights to Australia now.
Yeah.
They're not that bad. I'll say that. They're really not as bad as people think.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. I mean, I was looking at flights to Korea. Whew.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible. Well, you know what? Well, this is what we will do. We do know that. I guess it's almost safe to say that event 1 and event 2 are pretty much finalized. So instead of just being a downer the whole time, I mean, Brian, I mean, yeah, I guess it's not safe, but let's kind of just look at those 2 events and just kind of talk about the highlights and what we're impressed about that. You know, maybe not by region, but you know, workout 1 worldwide, Jason Hopper, 260 reps. Brian, you were there, you got to see it in person. You know, James Spring, I'm more impressed. I mean, just James and Jason, I'm very impressed by their performance. And but these are names.
Actually, I kind of wanted. I mean, you just look at these names. These are some big boys up here.
Yeah, the big boys. Yeah.
And the workout in particular was, I really liked the style of it, but the more that I watch it unfold, and when I see this now, it does make me question a little bit the inclusion of the snatch relative to the other 2 movements. Bella, I actually know of a few guys in Australia who did no snatches and got over 200 reps on this workout. And a lot of athletes, I mean, we saw it with Fisagafi in the at Crash Gym, that she just snatched for 40 seconds and rest for 20 seconds. Whereas she went against Lindsay Lane, who would snatch for 55 seconds and then head over there. And it looked a little suspect. You only got 3 minutes of work. You're going to give away 20 seconds there. Like, that's a considerable amount of the time.
It was a different workout. It was a different workout for men and women entirely. Listening to athletes talk strategy, the guys had completely different strategies than the ladies did when it came to that barbell. It was a different weight for ladies and guys. I think for 40 seconds of snatches, that's the best possible strategy for the ladies. Great idea.
These are the worldwide ranks on this workout, right? After the penalties that have come in so far.
Yep.
Dude, I told Rick Jones, I wonder if he has the footage of it. He was asking me some questions. I said, I'm more impressed with what Taylor Self did on this workout than Jason Hopper, because I expected Jason to crush this. And I thought that him and Dallin, who had 258 reps before reviews, would be in the top 5 worldwide on this. But Taylor's sitting here with the top 10 score, weighing 30 pounds less than them.
Yeah. Yep.
Damn.
But
because that rower and that box step up was where the workout was won and lost for the men, without a doubt.
Yeah. And that's what Josh said. Josh, when we had Josh on from HWPO, he's like, this is a rowing workout. And if you look at these names, these are who you expect to be the best rowers. And on top of that, these are some of the taller athletes. So the box is really nothing. I mean, Sharonki, who is probably one of the best row, he's tall and he can row. I mean, Sam Dancer, Taylor Self, Alex Vigneault, Roman, Samuel Quant, Dallin Pepper. I mean, these are all guys that.
And you think about guys like Quanton Mayer, they may not be 6'2", 6'3", but they're guys that they compete big. Yeah. And they do well on the workouts that these guys do well on. So I would say that just, it was a little interesting when everything was said and done, me to kind of question what was the snatch maybe doing there in that workout, and could there have been a different movement that would have been maybe balanced it out a little bit more. It seemed to be by far the least significant part of that workout.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you think about it, you blow up your grip on all 3 of those movements. And so if it was anything else, I mean, yeah, your grip probably would have gotten a little bit more of a break, or if you were not as wise on the barbell for the guys or for the girls, you're going to try to hold on for longer than you need to. You're going to try to go touch and go for the whole time. And there you go, your grip's gone. And then once you get to the row, it's already going to be blown up. You get to the step ups. What are you going to hold on with? So I think the snatch, yeah, it could have been something else, but I liked it for what it did for that workout, because it also shows, do you know how to game this workout? Do you really know what the point is for the girls versus the guys? Cool, let's figure it out. I liked it.
I mean, it comes down to strategy too.
Absolutely.
And that's also part of CrossFit too. It's like, hey, do you do snatches for 40 seconds, save yourself up so that way you can get 4 or 5 extra, pulls or, cows on the row, or a couple more step ups, I mean, that's CrossFit. Yeah. It became strategy. Yeah.
Sarah Cooper asked, who is Ryan Drew? Rest of his scores are way off. Ryan Drew is 6'2", 215 pounds. He's moderately fit. And it's not uncommon to see a workout like this where there's an athlete that has disproportionate score on a strength, specifically if it's, you can go back to 2019 and sort by workout one, and you'll see a bunch of guys who are over 6'2" that did really well in rowing and wall balls and didn't do nearly as well in anything else. Ryan is actually also he's fit, like he's finishing 1,000, 2,000 on some of the other workouts, which is fine. But I think that more is his stature plus having enough fitness is what's going on there.
On the women's side, kind of the same thing. I mean, power. I mean, these are some of the women that high power outputs, some of the best rowers. We expected Olivia, Gabby. I mean, I wasn't expecting Olivia to win, not at 204. I mean, that's 9 reps more than Gabby, because when you think of rowing and power output, you think of Gabby, you think of Laura Horvath, you think of Jennifer Muir, Amanda Barnhart, Emma Tall, and I wasn't expecting Caitlin Van Ziel on there, but she is maybe a longer athlete, but I was really impressed by her score as well. Any thoughts on this from either one of you?
Yeah, I think with the rowing for the women, there was a little bit less of a separator from most of the field. So I think this workout for women was one in the snatch and in the step ups. So seeing Caitlin Van Ziel, despite seeing her in 2000th place currently, I think she's tall, and for her, a 20-inch box for step ups like that, she'll thrive there. That's great for her. All of these females, with the exception of Olivia Cursiter and kind of Gabby, are on the taller side.
Yeah,
So
Emily
I think
Ross,
with that with that lighter barbell and that 20-inch box, I think they were all set up for success there, because the row, I mean, once you're at that level, it's 1 calorie is really not going to make too much of a difference.
I'm really impressed by Emma Lawson finishing 10th in this, because she's not known for power. She's not a taller athlete, but it just shows you just how good she is. So 10th in that workout, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of people asking about Crash Crescendo. That's tomorrow, HCRCBD. And yes, Lynn, first workout for the elite co-ed team starts at 2. We'll be streaming all the elite co-ed heats and events on our YouTube channel here.
Yeah, just subscribe and get alerts, and you'll get whenever we already have them. Yeah, we already have them up. We already have each event time. I think everything's up there. So if you sign up for alerts, you'll get that, and you'll tune in live with Brian and the gang there.
Sarah Cooper, top 10 into the 1000s seems nuts. I did go to the 2019 leaderboard and searched by the first workout. The first guy did that workout, and then he placed 23,000. He was first place in the world, 23,000th, and didn't do the rest of the workouts. The second place guy that year, his remaining scores were 3,700, 12,000, 10,000, and 10,000. There's a couple other athletes in the top 50 that look like that. But I need to tell you, Patrick, that third place that year on rowing and wall balls, our boy, Travis Mead.
Yep, Travis Mead. That's our homie.
But it begs a question that David's putting, is kind of referencing here with his comment as well, is just about that workout. And when you're looking at I think these were generally pretty good workouts, but you have to keep in mind that you have a massive playing field. And in the open, we can see workout rowing and wall ball. We know that has the potential to do certain things. Dave Castro talked about why they haven't included a 1 rep max or a complex in these stages of competition. 6 years late, I think, on that. But either way, he's mentioning it. And so we have this workout here that seemingly, based on the leaderboard, is skewing towards a really specific body type. It's interesting because I think when most people saw these workouts, they saw the first 2 and they thought, ooh, capacity. Maybe grip limiting the first one, capacity. And then they saw the last 2 and they're like, gymnastics, weightlifting, those 2 balance each other out. But but I think maybe it was this one actually that ends up being the balance with the workout number 3.
Jasmine, here's a pretty good question. I saw the 5th man, Justin Medeiros, jump over the box. Is it a step off? And if so, was he penalized? Not if you elected to jump over the box. That's only if you stepped onto the box or did a box jump, then you had to step off. But if you obviously elected to jump,
why did you just cover up Bella?
I didn't. She left.
Oh, she left. Oh, I was like, damn.
No, because I want people to see my face. No,
then cover me up. Definitely not her.
No, yeah. But Bella, yeah. But to answer Jasmine's question, that's why. So if you elected to jump over the box, obviously you didn't have to do a step off. But I would not recommend jumping over the box because at least maybe the last round. But yeah,
Most people were doing it, if anything, 5 reps or less, right at the
Yep,
very end, just to save a
exactly.
second or two.
Mhm.
Yes. So there were 2 ways to get over the box. One was land on, step off. One was clear. Lilo Dallas multi-pass. I don't think we've ever had a comment from you before,
No.
and very festive attire there. Does anyone really win with the appeals?
Yes.
I see CrossFit just pats heads and tell them to get over it. The percentage of appeals that end up making a difference, I have no idea, but I definitely do think that, first of all, the appeals process does exist. I know that, and Patrick knows that there is a separate sheet that review team will see that has appeals, and appeals are generally sent to someone who hasn't had anything to do with the decision-making process previously. And then sometimes there is a residual effect from there. And so, we hear Justin saying, like, we're losing some of the stars. We haven't lost anyone yet. I want to reiterate that from the beginning, is that we still have at least 4 days of this process to go through. We know that there are dozens of people around the world that are working from morning to night, probably longer than they really should be to be able to do a good job on this, but they don't really have much choice. And there's a lot that still needs to be unfolding. Last night, when some of these started to roll in, Antigua, excellent.
Thank you.
When some of these started to roll in, I was in contact with a few people who are involved in that process, and they're saying, yeah, there's plenty more to come. We're going through doing our rounds. We can only review one video at a time. We pass it up the chain, then it has to be, there's a process for every one of those things. So when you see Halpin posting however many total penalties have come in the last 24 hours later tonight, keep in mind that for every one of those penalties, multiple people have watched a video that is at the very minimum 15 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just haphazardly that they're distributing these things, and they're following a stated objective that they've been given to do.
Yeah, it sucks. David, even the gymnastics event came mostly about the rope climb. Total bar and handstand seemed like a bit of a throwaway. Yeah.
So he's going back to referencing
His original
previous comment about maybe a little bit of a lack of balance with some of the work, the workouts favoring a specific movement potentially. And then it does start to get pretty interesting if you kind of follow David's line of thinking there, that, okay, so now we have the first workout and we can just look at the results and see that the big athletes are doing best in the world. Obviously there are some, Emma Lawsons out there that are just incredible. Yeah. You look at a workout like that, and if that's true, that the rope climb is where most of the time is being spent, most of the time is being gained or lost, which I don't think that's true for every athlete, but
so.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But generally also it certainly is the most time per rep, even though it's the least number of reps.
Yeah.
What I really would like to know is how many gyms actually have a 15-foot rope, and those that have the ability to make it look like it's actually 15 feet. Because if I've been into, hundreds of CrossFit gyms that had to do the workout there, and I'm sure they hung the rope as high as they possibly can. Was it actually 15 feet? And where they marked it, was it actually 15 feet? And did they touch it over there? That's what I would like to see coming out of workout number 3.
Well, Brian, I think you have some firsthand account on that with Colton, right? In terms of the rope and it being viewed.
Yeah, it was JR's biggest stress when the workouts first came out, is how am I going to make a layout for these athletes to be able to do their thing and do it well with the way that my gym is set up. And in that specific workout, you need to have wall space, a rig, rings, and a rope, all in a proximity where you can keep them within a frame. And then now you're talking about that you have to be able to see the floor for a handstand push-up. You need to be able to see the angle for a lockout of ring muscle up, and you need to see 15 feet in the air for not just the measurement, but also for the touch at the top. And they came up with a clever solution there. It required the athletes to touch a beam that was above the structure that the rope was hanging from, but because it was an open ceiling, there were some other beams up there that he could mark with the tape, and they can measure 15 and touch it. That last foot of the rope climb became an uncommon movement for them, something that they haven't practiced before. Usually ropes all the way up to wherever they need to go. And it also was dark in that room in general and dark up there. And Colton wasn't satisfied with the way that his video looked. And so he redid the workout.
I will say I'm batting 1,000 when it comes to filing appeals for athletes. I'm just putting that out there. Yep. Including at the games. I won my appeal at the games for an athlete.
1 for 1.
No, I'm saying at the games 1 for 1. But overall, I mean, I filed some appeals in other stages, and I'm a perfect, perfect 4 for 4. So just saying. Yeah. Hey, Bella, maybe you can answer this question here. Thoughts on the proven team seemingly being a theme and not meeting the standards?
I don't think it has anything to do with the proven team. I think
Yep.
I think that's just a coincidence, and I think it's very easy to draw correlation when there is not any.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were camps that didn't have any professional judges that I think should. I think any major camp should have had professional judges there.
Yeah.
So to me, I think it's more telling of the camps that didn't have the judges than the teams that had the judges and that are seeing penalties. I think that speaks more.
Workout 2. I was pretty happy about this, especially on the women's side. Obviously, those who people know, I'm a big fan of Miriam, and she won the workout, and she won it in pretty convincing fashion. 14, I mean, nearly a minute over Emma Lawson. And for those who are wondering, she did suffer. Workout 3 and 4 weren't her strongest. I was actually more impressed with workout 4. Workout 3, obviously, with some gymnastics. That was one of the questions we had regarding her, because high rocks, you're not really asked to do much gymnastics.
Burpee broad jumps.
Yeah. So the burpees, she probably did well in those, but maybe not so much on some of the other ones. I imagine she probably did pretty decent in some of those movements, but yeah.
And if you're following us on Instagram, we collaborated with La Perf, who regularly puts out some stats for us and for his community, and cites Miriam as having the most. He uses P-score, the most dramatic performance or impressive performance relative to the field of any athlete at this point right now. Obviously, waiting for everything to close, but it's like a 7.7 on the P scale that he uses, which was pretty damn good.
Yeah. And then we kind of talked about this on Sunday about Tia. Initially she had won workout 1, and obviously she received some penalties, and here she finishes 4th. Still no threat right now currently of her not being in the Northeast semifinal. She's but I don't know, anything you guys want to talk about regarding the workout 2 in the women's field?
Not really. I mean, I think that workout I knew that was not the one that they were going to spend the most time watching and reviewing, because that's 150 wall balls, 150 lateral burpee box jump overs. I think there's definitely some questionable reps from some of the top athletes, and there always will be. So if they do watch those videos, hopefully
I thought you were going to say, because who wants to watch that?
No, I mean, honestly, it'd probably be pretty boring, but you could tell pretty quickly if range of motion is being limited on purpose and if it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in some of these and if you go through Halpin sheet, you'll see Henrik Happalainen, once again, 1 rep penalty. He got 1 rep penalty for a double under the open. He got 1 rep penalty for something in this workout. Can you imagine? The first video, okay, burpee box jump overs, 1.
Yep.
45.
Just that.
40.
Yeah.
Like,
How do
are
you
you kidding
find
me?
that one? Yeah. Right there. How do you find that one, that one penalty,
Yep.
And who do you blame for that? Yourself, obviously, but
Yeah.
no, well, it happens. On the men's side, we'll take a look at the men's side here. Workout 2.
I mean, it's great to see. It's great to see Tia doing well on that workout. We know that she had the problem with the burpees in the open. She had to do them on the fist. So to be able to do them that fast, you're expecting that she's probably doing traditional burpees, which means the wrist is healing, and that she's most likely healthy enough to proceed at the level we expect her to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But on the men's side, there must be something in Switzerland when it comes to body weight movements, because Miriam's countryman, or I guess fellow countryman, I guess he is a man, Colin Bossard wins it. So giving a clean sweep for the Swiss.
Yeah, and
Very
a
PC,
very,
very
very,
PC.
Yeah.
very strong performance here from Europe in general, with 5 of the top 6
Yeah.
scores from 5 individual countries there. And a couple other guys in the mix there. Justin Medeiros, one of the best in the world in general, and then Scott Tetlow, who this workout I think caught people off guard, and I think, and I really think that in terms of who could do well on it, I think that we ended up seeing that a variety of different athletes could do well on that, because as you're scrolling down the list here, you're seeing Scott Tetlow, who's on obviously the smaller side, and you got a guy like Mikhail Wazalowski.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is well over 6 feet tall, and you got some bodyweight specialists like Fernando Geneza, but then you see Jason Hopper and what he was able to do against some guys that you thought might, and so I think this ended up being, even though it's not the most fun maybe to judge or to do, pretty good workout overall, and very classic, very accessible. Yeah. So I would say that this workout is this one stands up to me.
I think workout 2 was a win. I think at the end of the day, it was how bad are you willing to feel for yourself at the end of it. Most people, you're working for the 20-minute cap. You're just trying to finish. But obviously, it's possible sub 15. And those people are willing to go to a very dark place to get it done. And again, that's the difference between normal people and CrossFit Games level athletes. So there we go.
Bella, did you do this workout?
I did. I did not finish. I got 23 burpees in the last round. And I texted Dom immediately. And I said, there we go. Done. Not doing it again.
What did he respond? Done. I think you got 25 in you.
No, he was like, yeah, so that's about as good as it's going to get. I was like, I can't physically, mentally, emotionally do this one again. Like, please don't make me.
Yeah. I'm really impressed by Keelan Henry's performance in the quarterfinals. I want to give him some love because, obviously Africa's, that region isn't known for, just making. No,
but they've also just had terrible luck.
Yeah.
Keelan Henry getting injured, basically before he even starts the games the year that he goes. And obviously what happened with Jason Smith last year. So we have basically not seen a male representative at the games in 2 years from CrossFit or from Africa.
Yeah. And I'm hoping Keelan is healthy because obviously he had I believe, did he withdraw from the semifinals last year?
Or either before or during. Maybe right on the first day. He pretty much, to me, I mean, he hasn't been able to compete at full health since making the games that year.
Yep.
I think on paper he's easily the guy to beat in Africa if he's healthy. And so seeing these, I completely agree. If he's healthy again, then I think there is a potential for him to win again in Africa and have a decent showing. I mean, he trains up there in France with Dennis Dubois and a pretty good training crew there. So if he's able to make it back to the games healthy, then I think it would be refreshing to have at least a known, fit, and healthy guy from Africa compete, because it's it's obviously a point of contention that people talk about. Where should the representatives come from? Are we, do we want global representation versus the fittest 40 in the world? But the worst case scenario is when you have one spot available and the one person fails a drug test, or the one person gets injured on day one, and now you're like, dang, like we hold this spot for Africa and we don't even get to see what he can do.
Yeah, or that person in the case of Asia, if you look at the top of the men's leaderboard in Asia, there's some names. The first two are probably not. If that stands pat, they might not even make it to semifinals, because you're looking at you don't know what the situation with Russia is and getting a visa. And Sadat, who's in second, he's obviously had issues, being from Iran and living in Iran. So it's a state of the world. It's really crazy. But yeah, I really want to give Keelan some love here, because finishing 20th worldwide in that event, and then another 36th and 68th, kind of a trip up in event one. But if he manages event one or workout one a little bit better, you're looking at maybe a top 50 worldwide, which is a very impressive for someone out of the Africa region, because we haven't really seen much of that, even when Jason Smith was competing. So.
Well, I mean, hell, man, and we're talking about, what did he put up 213 reps in that workout? I mean, he's not much bigger than or taller than Colton Mertens.
Exactly.
And Colton was around 220, and I thought that was a great performance for Colton. But you just saw, I mean, Colton was hanging with those guys on that workout. There was nothing he could do.
Yep.
And you're talking about, Jason Hopper, one of the biggest powerful athletes in the sport, obviously tremendously fit. And we saw already the guys at the top of that one. So not surprising that that's his worst workout by any stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bella, to make you happy, we're going to move over to Oceania and kind of look at the region real quick. And, whatever, something that sticks out or doesn't, anything that surprised you in this region.
Nothing surprising me. I think we've been chatting. The podium is likely going to be Ricky, Jay, Bailey. So It doesn't surprise me to see them sitting there. But also for them, they're not peaking yet.
Yep.
So for any of them to have anything below 1, 2, and 3, it's not a big deal. I am really excited for Pete. You see him in 7th. He won down under. We talked about it, back in December. I've never seen him this way as an athlete. So I like to see this kind of performance from him because he is fighting for a game spot this year. And if anyone's going to, upset Bailey or Ricky or Jay, it's going to be Pete. I'm excited for him. I also think it's, on the girls' side, when I was looking at all of the girls coming out, what?
Yeah. Let's stay on the men's. Let's stay on the men's right now because I want to get Brian's opinion on a couple of these.
Go for it, Brian. Go for it.
Well, first I want to kind of point out, obviously Ricky, Jay tied. They each had an event right now currently with workout wins in Oceania, and then Bailey a couple steps, 13 points behind them. But there's a little bit of a drop off between those three, which we expect will be the three coming out of there if they're indeed given three spots. But then after that, and those are coincidentally all three of those, they're all recorded top 10 workouts, top 10s in each one of the workouts. I think Bailey had an 8th place. That might have been the worst place of those three in those 4 workouts. But Brian, Ben Fowler, Luke DeYoung, Zach Thomas, Peter Ellis. Who do you out of that group? Who do you see might? What do you think of that group?
Strong, really good. I would say that Zach Thomas got the backfill for Ricky last year and had a great performance at the semifinal. If anything, he could be the case for Oceania getting 40 guys to be able to compete at the semifinal. Of the 4 regions that got those extra 10 spots, I think that by far the 10 extra spots there will be the strongest 10. If those extra 10 guys were all to compete against each other, and he's in a good training environment. He's very young and he's on the ascendancy, having a great season so far. But if you do not know who Luke DeYoung is, he was winning the Torian Pro 2 years ago before he had to pull, or 3 years ago maybe. But he was having some incredible performances when he was only 21 years old. He had an afro back then. He is I've mentioned it before. He is just one of those freak athletes. He has a basically chronic back problem, and look at the scores that he's putting up. 234 reps on the first workout, sub 10 minutes. He's a big dude. What's he listed at there? It's probably 6'1" or 6'2", 92 kilos. He's so he's up pushing to 220, and he's finishing under 10 minutes on that gymnastics workout, cycling 56 reps with the barbell. And he basically decided to sign up for quarterfinals within hours of the first deadline submission window being there, and he's sitting in 6th place. I'm happy that he's just going to be back competing, because even though I don't think that he'll have a chance to unseat one of those 3 guys, barring something really weird happening, I do think that he has a chance to put on a show down under. He's got a big support group down there, trains with a ton of guys, trains a ton of people, and he's an entertainer. And I love to see guys like that, especially when they can kind of mix it up.
I agree.
Yeah. We'll move on to the women, ladies, and sorry. There we go. All right. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this because Halpin keeps on getting me, but Madeline's third and first, and it's great to see Madeline up there. I've been saying that she's kind of been passed over when it came to Oceania region, but since she made that move to proven, she's been able to prove me wrong so far, and I think she's setting herself up for a really good run through the rest of the season, maybe in semifinals, and hopefully back to the games.
Are you going to let Bella talk about the women now?
I will. Bella, you may speak about the women.
Thanks. Yeah, I think Maddie needed to go through a little bit of the growing pains. Something that Alexis Raptis has spoken on a lot is,
Yes.
You think that it's going to be this easy journey once you get to the top. And I think Maddie is a great story to show, hey, it's not always going to be easy. You're going to be really fit. And then guess what? Everyone else is going to catch up. And then you're going to have to do something differently. So I think it's awesome to see that Maddie's gone, changed training camps with her partner, Jay, and they're both seeing a lot of success. I do think, I mean, the funniest thing that's happened in the last week is when, the leaderboard was initially posted. I'm texting everybody in Australia, WTF, what's going on with Gracie?
Great.
What's happening? What's going on? They're texting, they're going out, texting people from the gym in Perth. So we're all over the place trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And then Gracie ended up posting, she's like, sorry to everybody who's stressed out. I'm like, yeah, girl, be sorry. I need you here. I need you here. I'm not going to do this again like we did with Annika. I need you. Come on. We're doing this together. We're a team. Okay. We're a team here. And I mean, I've always been a huge supporter of Gracie and Zane. And so, again, seeing her thriving here, no surprise. Again, she's not peaking. So I think the show she's going to put on in 5 weeks, I'm excited to see what she's going to do.
Yeah. And then there's a significant drop off. Daisy McDonald, do you know, 22-year-old? Yeah. What can you tell us about Daisy?
She's great. She's on the smaller side. She's tall, she's long and lean. So when I've seen her in past competitions, she's been against a little bit more of a stacked field. So she hasn't really had time to show up, but I like that I'm seeing her on the leaderboard now. I don't think we'll see her top 10 at Torian, but this is quarterfinal. So I'm happy to see that she's got some solid placings here. She's a great athlete and she's been around for the last 3 years that I've been at Torian. So it's a name that I'm very familiar with. I see her all the time. The one you just clicked, Julia, I am excited for her specifically. To be honest, I'm surprised she didn't win the workout number 4, but happy to see she finished workout 2. I'll say that.
And looks like Julia actually did the workouts with alongside Ricky at Fitness Alley CrossFit. Well, it makes sense. They're both Underdogs athletes now. So
Ben Gerard basically coaches her.
Yeah.
And she only lost on that workout to Maddie and Caitlin Van Ziel. It's like who in this season, without Tia competing there, with Cara going team, with Ellie Turner taking the year off, with Jamie Simmons on a team out in Europe, I would say that Maddie Sturt and Caitlin Van Ziel are those are the athletes to beat as far as the ones that were closest to making it last year that are still competing this year. And then the two that are knocking on the door with the most vigor, I would say, are Julia and Grace. And, I've been pretty much saying it since I found out that those people weren't going to be there. I think 3 of those 4 girls end up taking the game spots, assuming that they all get a chance to compete.
I think if Maddie and Gracie and Caitlin are all allowed to compete, I think they'll all go. I think if Caitlin is not allowed to compete, I think the spot goes to Julia.
I'm not counting her out. Actually, Bella and I have some bets running. She thinks that Jay is going to beat Ricky at Torian Pro. I'm taking Ricky, and I'm taking Julia Hannaford to qualify for the games regardless, and she's not. And we're not going to disclose what we bet on that.
Wait a second. But if Julia makes it, whose spot is she taking, Brian?
Hey, I don't think that I think she's in the same league as those girls. I think that she could beat them in a given competition.
I will say though, Caitlin.
Okay.
I mean,
the drama.
Caitlin on paper, she should be going, but we know the past couple of years since she started competing as an individual athlete, she's come up short.
Well, this goes all the way back to, I think someone made a comment that your expense hero at PC. No,
sure, definitely.
But it comes to what you're saying earlier. It's not that Maddie Sturt was passed over. What really happened in Oceania is that the landscape of opportunity changed dramatically for them. And it changed dramatically for them at a period of time in the sport where they had 3 of the best 10 women in the world competing. And ironically enough, now we could be looking at a situation where they have 3 of the best 10 men in the world competing. Prior to 2000, I think even in 2018, they were getting 5 spots. So up through those semifinal years, 5 qualifiers were coming out of Oceania. And athletes like Caitlin Van Ziel and like Maddie Sturt, they had an opportunity to make it despite having 3 of the best in the world there. That was stripped away from them. And there hasn't been a system in place, and nobody can convince me that the current system is one that does this. There has not been a system in place that accurately assesses not just how your athletes did in the online stages of the season. That is relevant because it accounts for the people who are actually competing. But the caliber of the athletes in your region and how they do, regardless of how many spots they get at the biggest competitions, and in this case, we really only have the CrossFit Games to look at if you're going to use the game season, that matters too. And when you have 3 people qualify and 3 people finish in the top third of the field, and there's no chance that they can earn an extra spot despite that, that to me is a red flag.
Yeah.
Something before we move on, something, I mean, obviously, Maddie, I was interested. I always look at the ages, especially something like, with Oceania, because obviously they have legends that are there, especially on the men's side. But, Grace Walton's 23, Daisy's 22, Erica, she's kind of older side, 30, Julia's 23, Jess Green, 25, Brianna, we know, is 24, a 21-year-old, 25. I mean, it seems like 24. It seems like there's like a new, I guess, a new generation of Oceania athletes. And
but they've been coming. I mean, these,
they've been coming for a while. Yeah.
They've been
Gemma
coming.
Hawk, Georgia Pryor, like we've been looking at these athletes for the past couple of years as they're 22, 23, 24. Some of them that are now becoming 24, 25, 26 should be hitting their stride in terms of being more competitive across the board, more consistent, more well-rounded. And, just like we saw with Emily DeRoy last year, like, do not be surprised if an athlete like Georgia Pryor puts together an exceptional run during the semifinal weekend and finds herself within a few points of qualifying with one workout to go.
Yeah,
I agree, Brian.
And then on the opposite end, you have Alethea Boone, who huge fan of her. So at 40,
dude, Adrian Conway
She's
put
a
something
dog.
up today. Adrian Conway put something up on his Instagram today that I really liked. He reposted. It was on his story. He reposted a study from somewhere. I didn't get a chance to look at it as much as I want to, but he basically suggested that women can handle more volume than men, and it seemed to be based on some study that was done outside of the realm of CrossFit. But he was applying it to this concept of female athletes being able to compete in the sport longer. And he was citing that this could be a potential reason why. And secondarily, an interesting point that I haven't really heard many people talk about is that even though at the top end of strength, the 70% number seems to make sense. So maybe an average female's 70% or one rep max is 70% of a male. That when you are talking about cycling, this is the post could find there, Patrick. We're talking about barbell cycling or cycling a weight for a lot of reps, that 70% doesn't really hold up. And he's suggesting that maybe we're with the way that women have developed just in strength in general in the past 20 years. And also this kind of study that maybe closer to even 80% for some of those barbell cycling workouts would yield a more similar response. So hoping to look into that, but I saw that today and I thought it was maybe relevant there.
It's very cool.
And she's a gladiator too. So yeah, just saying.
Alethea's great.
Yeah, she is awesome.
She's bicep goals. I'll say that. You see her and you're like, dang, those are some guns.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're at an hour and a half. Everyone we still got a lot of people watching. I mean, if there's any questions you have for us, fire away. Otherwise, we might call it Lynn was not at was Wadapalooza.
I think Lynn is thinking of Down Under, the team.
Yeah, the Down Under. So
with
how that young team that he had, those young pups.
They crushed it.
Yeah. They crushed it.
But yeah, I mean, obviously we'll have to do another show next week when it's all finalized to kind of see where all the chaos, where it's settled. But hopefully you got a lot out of today's episode. Obviously you gotta love live shows when you can bring someone like Mike Halpin in to kind of explain it, and then bringing someone like Justin Cotler to kind of give his points on that. But I think that's why that's what makes these shows so fun. I mean,
we'll have to give Sarah Cooper, the executive producer, credit for this show.
Exactly. She was like telling me, like, you need to get him on. But no, definitely thanks so much, Sarah. And with many. Oh, here's a question. With the many changes with athletes going team, I'm looking forward to a leaderboard for females. Okay, not really a question, but
Me
a statement.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
statement.
mean this is a good topic. I mean, obviously we're approaching. I think we've reached now the 33% threshold of women who competed at the
Mhm.
CrossFit Games last year that are not competing individually this season for a variety of different reasons. And as a result of that, we're going to see, we're guaranteed to see that at the minimum the kind of expected number of turnover. We usually get 25 to 30% turnover anyway amongst the games athletes in terms of rookies showing up there. But we're guaranteed to see that many. And there is a huge opportunity this year for a lot of women from all over the world to have career defining years. And I think that, that's another reason why you had kind of like scratch your head at this stage of the season about what's really going on, because some of the people that are getting penalized here, it's not even a question. Like, we know that they should be at the semifinals and we want to see them there and we want to see what they're able to do there against the best. And it's not to say that you should get a pass and you should get to, skirt the movements, but there are other things in play here. And I'm just hopeful that for those, especially on the women's side, that is a good point, that for those athletes who have the chance to see years of work come to fruition this year, it will, it's going to happen for some of them regardless. And it's going to be cool to see.
As always, Sarah, thank you. You're welcome.
That last word, Patrick, do you know how to pronounce that word?
What, chaos?
Oh, I thought it was chouse.
Oh, chaos. Yeah, you are tired.
Okay,
I just wanted to see your reaction, Bella, and it was worth it.
Yeah.
Are we okay?
Yeah. No, thank you, Lynn, for taking part and being so awesome in the chat.
Last thing I'll say here. What is this? Popcorn and sign. Last thing I'll say, Jasmine's comment down there. I mean, look, keep in mind that we have 4 more days. The process is unfolding. Let it run its course. It's great that you have, passion for this sport. It's great that you have invested interest in these athletes. But I think that in terms of what we've seen here, that this is not the end of the story. Yet we may end up missing an athlete like that from the semis. It's certainly possible, but I think that there's a lot more that's still going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, like Brian said earlier in the show, there is an appeals process, and I guarantee you a lot of these athletes they're in that process as well. So, they have some time, even after they say they might finalize, it might take a little bit longer for the appeals to go through as well. But thanks for the support, everyone. Obviously, everyone that was able. I mean, Bella's got her support animal with her. Always. But if you like supporting us, I think the best way you can support us at this point is supporting those that support us. 20% off HGR CBD products. Obviously, Carl and the guys over at HGR, they've been great. These shows aren't possible without them. So if you're interested in CBD products, or if you want to try it out, head on over there. Use friend20, get 20% off your HGR CBD products, and it's a good way to kind of support us and support those that support us as well. So
as soon as we got to the house here, Nikita goes, "Hey, did you bring those CBD guys things?" I packed the whole bag for him because he's traveling in. But
yeah. Bella's one for you, for Sarah.
Sarah, this is Gunner.
Yeah, Gunner, nice. But thanks again. Crash Crescendo this weekend. Brian will be there live on the 1s and 2s. He's not DJing, but he'll be there providing play-by-play for the elite divisions. That field is stacked. There is an article up, that preview up on our website.
Yep. And JR joined us yesterday to run through some of his thoughts behind this. This is something that he takes very seriously. He's super intelligent. He runs through all of the elite workouts on our show yesterday in 30 minutes, giving his thoughts on them and some insights into the way that his mind works. And yes, all of the shows, each event is scheduled as its independent show on the YouTube station already. And I will post the start times for those and links on Instagram. JR will probably repost them as well on his Instagram. So if you want to watch some of the best teams in North America compete, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place from the quarterfinals are going to be there, plus a few other pretty talented teams that will be at the semifinals, and through kind of a couple of makeshift teams that aren't necessarily competing in the season that have showed up. So should be pretty entertaining workouts and a pretty good field.
Yeah. So that's where you'll find Brian this weekend. And Bella, what do you got playing this weekend? Anything?
What do I have this weekend? Oh, I'm going to go to the Padres game on Sunday.
Oh, okay, good.
My first Padres game. Let's go.
At Petco Park.
I believe you
Yeah,
already
so-
have the hat. Is that right?
Heck yeah, of course I have the hat.
Mhm.
I'm a big hat person. I've got so many hats.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love hats.
Well, who do they play? Do you even know?
Great question. That's like
Yeah.
a Sunday morning question for me to Google.
Yeah.
It's a 1:00 game, so I have until then to figure it out.
Okay.
Have you already picked out the outfit?
Okay, no, but I've thought about it.
Oh,
Thought about it. I have a general color scheme in mind. It's gonna be really sunny, so you never know.
Sunglasses. What ones are you wearing?
Well, what if I wear my hat?
Oh,
Brian thinks
Yeah,
I should wear my hat, you know? If
yeah,
I wear a hat, I don't need sunnies.
you can't wear both.
I think I saw you wearing it some other
combo.
time this week.
Yeah.
At the
It
beach,
popped
maybe
off. It was good.
under the
Yeah, it was
pier
good.
somewhere.
It was good. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that was a good one.
Well, sounds like everyone has a busy and fun weekend. A lot of CrossFit, relaxing, watching other sports.
Yeah.
So, hopefully you guys, everyone that's listening, please head over, check out Crash Crescendo this weekend, support JR, support B.Friendly. That's a great way to support them, support our supporters, and support Bella and her journey to just live the best life possible out in freaking San Diego.
Yeah.
So, but we appreciate everyone tuning in and the blessings and support. And next week we have a busy week. Next week, I think we kick off Monday with Kiefer and Kyra, kind of going over just everything Underdogs, relationship, all types of cool stuff. That would be a really cool show to be a part of. And then we have by Monday we should have that leaderboard finalized, and then we could talk about some of the other regions we didn't get to today. About it. So unless you have anything else to say, you two, nothing. All right. Brian needs a cook dinner and go to bed.
Yeah, he's got to
I
go
don't-
cook for someone apparently.
I only want to do one of those things.
Crazy.
All
It's
right.
the cooking, right?
Yeah. Well, we are so happy that all our friends were able to join us today on this evening. And as always, be friendly, our friends.